Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope all is well in your world. It is storming here in sunny South Florida. It's been storming all day, so it's a great day to stay indoors and it's a great day to upload a video. Wanted to start a parenting series for this week. Um, I think one of the most important things that we have as mature adults is the responsibility to pass on whatever knowledge, whatever maturity, whatever wisdom we've acquired throughout our years. And one of the things that I'm really good at is children. I have been a parent for 24 years. I've been in the public school system for 20 years. And I've worked with children in almost every realm that you can think of. I've done summer camps. I have worked at a daycare center. Um, I have babysat many different children. I started babysitting when I was about 12 years old. This is a true story. My mother had a friend who had a newborn, and I know she wanted to take her friend somewhere, and she's like, yeah, Keisha would be a great babysitter. She's good with children, she's responsible. And, I remember listening to her, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't have much experience with newborns at that time. Keep in mind, I was 12 years old. So when they left and I was alone with the baby, he was just so adorable. I wanted to wake him up and play with him. So I woke him up and he screamed literally for the next 2 hours. I think I was able to get him in the bed and, change quiet and everything, maybe literally 10 minutes before they walked back through that door. So I learned that day never to wake a sleeping baby. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Anyway, wanted to get on here and talk about Parenting 101. So I do plan on coming with a different topic every day. I'm thinking about doing 5 days. At some point, my sister is going to join me. She's been a mental health clinician. She's been a professional mental health um, advocate for as long as I've been in the classroom. So always good to bounce off of her. She's got some great ideas. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. But today, just wanted to introduce, the fact that parenting is the hardest job you'll ever take on. There are days that, we all want off from that job and we can't get off because whereas you're babysitting and you can always, leave or drop the child off, when it's your child, it's your responsibility. And, to be quite honest, there are days where you just don't feel like parenting. It's human nature. We all need a break, and some of us do not get that break. So, with parenting, communication, time management, the ability to balance your family with your job or your career and, your personal needs, it's clutch. And we live in a society that does not. We say we value our children, we say we value family life, but our structure is not set up such that that shows. We do not have paid time off for parents with newborn children, and healthcare and all that jazz. With parenting, I wanted today to talk about how important it is to teach before you punish. And that encompasses a lot of different skills, from washing the dishes to mopping the floor to teaching a child how to drive a car. We do this thing in education where it's I do, then we do, and then you do. So adopting that practice at home with everything you introduce to your children is a good thing to instill, to have. So, for instance, if you want your child to wash the dishes, if that's one of their chores, you actually want to model what that looks like. Literally grabbing the cloth, literally, you may be one of those parents that fill the sink up and then put all the dishes in there and wash them like that. You might be one of those people that just keep the water running and wash every dish individually. I remember when I was a child, I would get in trouble for the way I washed the dishes. So I've always had some OCD tendencies. And even as a child, I'm like, how am I washing dishes in dirty water? Because all the dirty dishes are in there, right? But as an adult, you might be thinking about the water bill. And, constantly running water is running up your water bill. Well, I used to wash the dishes one at a time with the water running. And of course, that was not the way that my parents wanted it done. I grew up in a two-parent household until I was about 11 years old. My parents had 5 children together, and then my father has multiple children outside of the marriage. But no one ever taught me how to do the things that they wanted me to do. I was just expected to know how. And when we expect our children just to know how to do something that we want them to do, we're doing them and us a disservice, right? Not only are they confused about what's expected because we have not laid out our expectations, when we see it's not done the way that we want it done, then there's our frustration. And then some type of punishment tends to be enforced when really all of that could have been alleviated had we just taught our children exactly what we want them to do. So modeling what you want them to do, then doing it with them, literally side by side, doing it with them, and then watching as they do it. So if you follow that practice, not only have you modeled what you expect, but then you've observed your child doing what you expect as well. You have given clear communication, and you're empowering your child. Keep in mind, as a parent, our first job is to keep our children safe. But after our children are safe, we want to empower them. It is a cold dog eat dog world out there, and we want our children to go out with as many skills, as much self-esteem, as much confidence, as much knowledge as possible. And they're going to get that first and foremost in the home with who you surround them with. All right. So if at any point anything in my messages this week step on your toes, sit with that. Really think about why it may be stepping on your toes, and then, do the work. We all have so much work to do. Some of us grew up in healthy, happy homes. Others of us grew up just survivors. And there's a whole slew of us in between, right? So at some point in time, we are all healing from something. And so we want to equip our children with the best possible scenario. So that old adage about it always being better to raise healthy, happy children than to fix adults, okay? And in this society, we want to give our children as much as we possibly can. And while a lot of people might think that that is financial, and of course financial goes a long way, mental health is so much more important than what you can give your children financially. Because if you equip them with the skills and the attitude and the knowledge that they need, the money will come. So teach your children before your frustration sets in, before you want to punish, especially with homework, right? So as a teacher, one of the things we spend a lot of time doing is encouraging children to voice their opinion, to be seen in class. We encourage our children to ask for help. We walk around the classroom, right? And we're like, do you understand this? Do you get this? But a lot of children do not speak up. They do not advocate for themselves. They don't feel like they have a voice. They don't use their voice. And as adults, if we really think about why, right? All of that happens in either their home or their social environment. Like they get that message, oh, I'm supposed to be quiet. Oh, let me blend into the background. Let me not be seen. I remember my mother telling us when we were younger that with her generation, children were supposed to be seen and not heard. She didn't have a voice. She was not supposed to have any issues. Oh, you're a child, you have no concerns, you have no issues, you have no problems. And, now that I'm older, now that she's older, we know that that's not right. We know that every generation gains more knowledge, more wisdom than the one before. So we want to empower our children to speak up and advocate for themselves. So that they're healthy and happy and they know that that's the right thing to do as they get older. So with homework, your child brings home homework. They don't know how to do it. And we're saying, why didn't you ask in class? Okay, they did not ask in class. So what do we do next? Do they have any notes? Can we go to Google? Do we have a tutor or the teacher's phone number? How can we solve the problem? How can we teach them the lesson instead of focusing on the punishment? Because a lot of times, guys, the punishment is our frustration that we are taking out on the children. Now, mind you, yes, we have very stressful lives. We're pulled in all directions every single day. And we take a lot on our plates. And parenting takes a lot of energy, and a lot of times we don't necessarily have all the energy we need, but we need to get in the practice of taking a step back, not taking our frustration out on our children because they don't have half the experience we have. They don't know half the things we know. Now, they are little people. They are observing every and anything you do. But, they cannot take care of themselves. They need your wisdom. They need your guidance. So with that in mind, we have to focus on teaching and not punishing. When we set up a pattern of getting frustrated and punishing our children for things that they don't know, we are teaching them to internalize everything and not to share. And because it's easier not to say anything and not get yelled at and not get punished and not get grounded. Like, you tend to try to fade into the background as a child when you have that type of environment. That's what I tried to do. It set me up for failure. I went down the road of trying to be a people pleaser, trying to look as perfect as possible so that I didn't get into any issues. As I got older, it's not trouble that you're concerned with as much as it is maintaining a facade of not making mistakes. But we're all human. Making mistakes is part of the human experience. So we want to teach our children that it's okay to make mistakes, that we are here to guide them, and that life itself is a huge learning process. And we cannot dish out punishment for every instance that our children need to learn. There are times where punishment is necessary, where it is expected, where it's warranted. But when we're teaching our children how to be productive adults, how to be productive human beings, little people, we need to actually model that. We need to have checks and balances. we need to count to 10. We need to deep breathe. We need to excuse ourselves and go look in the mirror and remind ourselves that we are our child's biggest, most influential teacher, and we really only get one time to get it right, right? Because when our children are grown and they leave our homes, we would love for them to keep in touch with us. We would love for that relationship to evolve into an adult friendship. But our children do not have to stay in our lives, especially if we have not created that environment that leads to a positive communication and relationship. So just wanted to get on here today and talk about teaching, focusing on teaching instead of punishing. And I hope that you got something out of this message. I will be back on tomorrow with another parenting message. I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good evening. Take care and be blessed.